Thank you, Sophie. Hello and welcome to Look North. On the programme tonight, 7 men have been jailed today for sexually abusing a girl in Bradford more than 20 years ago. We'll have the latest from court. Also tonight, members of the Jewish community in our region express their sadness but say they're not surprised about yesterday's attack on a synagogue in Manchester.
It pains me to say that every single British Jew has been in some way waiting or expecting something like this to happen.
Businesses in Leeds with car parks could be charged more than £2,000 per space to help pay for a new tram network. And all aboard, we catch a ride through Halifax with Britain's best bus driver.
Well, this picture just about sums it up this afternoon. It's wet, it's becoming very windy. We've got warnings in place. Don't forget that detailed, all-important weekend forecast follows shortly.
Good evening and welcome to Friday's Look North. 7 men have been jailed today for sexually abusing a girl in Bradford more than 20 years ago. The victim was exploited from the age of 13 and told the court she reflected on the failings of police back then with deep sorrow and anger. This afternoon, the men were jailed for sentences ranging between 6.5 years and 21 years after being found guilty of sexual offences. Well, our Home Affairs correspondent Emma Glasby has spent several months following the case and sent this report from Bradford Crown Court.
We heard in court the victim was extremely vulnerable and isolated when she was targeted in Bradford between the ages of 13 and 15. Many of the men were teenagers when they carried out this abuse in the early 2000s. Now, one of the men, Basharat Khalik, carried on abusing the victim even when she was moved into a children's home. We heard evidence in court that social workers challenged him outside the home, saying, "Go away, this is a children's home, these are young girls." The court was told police were informed, but no effective action was taken and the victim was abandoned. Well, today, Basharat Khalik has been jailed for 21 years for rape and indecent assault. The other men were jailed for sentences ranging between 6.5 years and 12 years for sexual offences against her. Now, in a very powerful impact statement that was read out in court, the victim said, "There were nights so dark and days so heavy I couldn't even function." She told her abusers, "Had you been held accountable in the early 2000s, I, along with numerous other women, would not be burdened with the ongoing struggle against this concealed epidemic of child sexual exploitation." And she added, "People say I can get on with my life now, but they have no idea about the severity of the emotional unwellness I carry every day." Well, today here at Bradford Crown Court, Judge Nadeem commended her bravery, saying the debt owed by society to her for her courage is enormous. He said she faced the criminal justice process to ensure that predators were brought to justice. West Yorkshire Police has acknowledged it failed victims of child sexual exploitation in the past, but said hundreds of perpetrators are now serving long prison sentences. And Bradford Council has said it had apologised to the victim for the serious failings in the way it acted in the past.
Next tonight, we had been expecting this, and this was not a surprise. These are some of the reactions from Yorkshire's Jewish community after an attack at a synagogue in Manchester yesterday, which left 2 people dead and 3 remain in hospital. Jewish people in Leeds have told Look North that something must be done to curb the rise in anti-Semitism. Olivia Richwell reports.
Gated and barred and with several layers of security, it wasn't easy to even access the United Hebrew congregation in Leeds today. Those who worship at this synagogue say they were already living in fear before the attacks in Manchester.
For 18 months, I have been saying in flat terms, if you allow language to escalate, somebody will be killed. Yesterday is appalling and devastating and brutal, but what it isn't is a surprise.
The Jewish community feels very lonely right now, and it has fear and uncertainty at a time where we should have been talking about these things weeks ago, months ago, years ago. And it pains me to say that every single British Jew has been in some way waiting or expecting something like this to happen.
Members of the synagogue say that they have all felt a rise in anti-Semitism since the start of the Israel-Hamas conflict in October 2023.
Anti-Semitism has always been here, and sometimes it's just a light sleeper. The events of October the 7th were the catalyst for an explosion in hate, and we've seen it manifest in this city and the wider West Yorkshire region, and Yorkshire more widely even then, in many different ways, whether it's within the NHS, whether it's NHS doctors or staff, whether it's within schools, mainstream schools, what young kids are receiving from their fellow school children or teachers.
Today, the Prime Minister visited Heaton Park Synagogue, where the two men died after the attack that is being treated as terrorism. A vigil was also held and prayers were said in the rain in Manchester. The attack fell on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year in Judaism. At a community centre in Leeds, it was the main topic of conversation.
We have guards outside our synagogue, but obviously it's not enough. And we've just got to take every precaution. It won't stop me going to the synagogue. We've got to continue with our life.
I think we've all got to come together, and I've been really heartened today. My phone has been pinging non-stop with friends and former colleagues who've got in touch with me, not Jewish, but to say they're thinking of me, how terrible it is, and let's just hold hands and be together.
The community says that these days it's commonplace to have volunteers wearing stab vests guarding Jewish schools, bakeries and synagogues. Today, police in Leeds have stepped up patrols to offer reassurance. The big hope, though, is that this kind of thing isn't needed and Jewish people can live without fear of violence. Olivia Richwald, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Businesses in Leeds that provide staff with car parking could be charged more than £2,000 per parking space to help pay for West Yorkshire's proposed tram network. Leeds City Council is considering a workplace parking levy that would see an annual fee introduced on company parking to help fund public transport improvements, and this is how it would work. Each parking space at a workplace would incur a fee of £2,080 a year. It's estimated it would generate between £15 million and £25 million every year to help fund the tram. Hospital parking spaces, disabled parking spaces and fleet vehicle spaces would be exempt from the charge, along with businesses with 9 or fewer spaces. Our transport correspondent Spencer Stokes has been looking at how it would work.
That long-held ambition of trams for Leeds and West Yorkshire finally got government backing in the summer. The Chancellor of the Exchequer has promised £2.5 billion to build the network. But there's a sting in the tail, because 15 to 20% of the money will have to be raised locally. In Leeds, the council says one way of doing that would be to charge businesses a levy if they offer staff parking spaces. Parallax are a city centre software firm with 31 spaces, and the company now faces a £2,080 a year fee for each space, an annual bill of nearly £65,000 if the levy goes ahead.
When I saw the proposal, I was horrified. This is quite clearly just a money grab. We've got 3 years to decide on our lease whether we stay in the city centre or not, and this is the kind of thing that will drive us out. This is the kind of thing that would make us relocate to a business park somewhere where the only option actually to get there is by car.
Leeds City Council estimate that the charge would raise as much as £25 million a year. The zone would stretch from the edge of Kirkstall in the west of the city, north to the universities, to the edge of Hare Hills in the northeast and Hunslet in the southeast. We asked the council for an interview, but they said no one was available, adding the current level of funding is insufficient to cover our ambitions, and introducing a mechanism such as a workplace parking levy is one option which could generate the revenue needed.
Asda are one of the biggest employers in the city centre with hundreds of parking spaces. Now, if the proposed levy goes ahead at the £2,000 a space rate, they could be facing an annual bill of nearly £500,000 for staff parking.
Asda say that at this stage they have no comment to make on the proposal. The only other city in the UK to introduce such a levy is Nottingham, where it's funded extensions to the tram network. Their East Midlands Chamber, which represents businesses, says it's been beneficial.
Initially, I think businesses were sceptical around whether this would be another cost placed onto them. But actually, because the levy is ring-fenced by law and has to be reinvested into the local transport infrastructure, we've seen investment come into the city. We've seen businesses make decisions because actually that connectivity, their employees being able to move around, and actually importantly being able to move around their goods because it's reduced the congestion as well. So, you know, it has been a positive move.
Back at Parallax, Lawrence has been completing the council's online consultation, but he has little faith in the process.
I was expecting it to ask us for an opinion on whether this would actually negatively impact us, but the closest it gets to that is just asking us how we think public transport could be improved.
And they don't ask what you think of the idea?
No, not at all. All they do is ask us how many parking spaces we have so that they can send us an invoice.
And we're investing in West Yorkshire to power ahead with a mass transit system.
Earlier this week, the Chancellor reiterated her support for mass transit, but the money won't all come from the Treasury, and Leeds are looking at other ways to pay for the tram.
Well, Spencer is here now. Spencer, early days, but just remind us who would be affected by this.
So any business with 10 or more parking spaces in the city centre, £2,000 per space per year, they could pay that themselves or they could pass it on to staff. There would be exemptions for NHS settings, for disabled spaces and for operational vehicles. Schools, though, at this stage wouldn't be exempt. We've been speaking to Ruth Gorse Academy, a big school within the outlined parking zone. They say they have concerns about this. They're seeking a meeting with Leeds City Council, and their main concern is this could take money away from education. It's been done in Nottingham. Bristol are also looking at it, but two other cities, Leicester and Edinburgh, who proposed this, have backed away from the idea.
Yeah, it's a lot to digest, isn't it? What happens next?
So there's an ongoing consultation that lasts for a couple of weeks. Leeds City Council will make a decision next year in 2026 if this goes ahead. If it starts, it'll begin in 2027. And it could be used, the money raised could be used to fund the proposed tram network. £25 million a year could be raised for the tram system. That would be two lines, one from Leeds to Bradford and one from St James's Hospital down to the White Rose Centre. With that extra money, building work could then start 3 years from now, as the Mayor, Tracy Brabin, wants, in 2028, 3 years' time. So there is some government funding, £2.5 billion for it, but Leeds City Council looking at this local contribution as well.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Spencer, thank you very much for bringing us up to date on that. A second person has been arrested on suspicion of murdering a father who was shot dead in Sheffield. 32-year-old Kasim Mohammed was killed on Watery Street in the Upper Thorpe area on Tuesday night. A 31-year-old woman was detained in the early hours in connection with the murder. It follows the arrest of a 22-year-old man, also on suspicion of murder. Now, the new Green Party leader has said lowering household bills is his relentless focus as the party targets more seats across Yorkshire. Zach Polensky, who was elected last month, said he believed the Greens were ready to win council and parliamentary seats across the region. Our political editor, James Vincent, has been speaking to him ahead of the party's annual conference.
Thanks very much for speaking to us. It's often felt like the Greens are maybe a party that get a lot of votes in the south, not so many votes in the north. You've done quite well on local councils, but is there a drive to get more people voting Green in the north?
Absolutely. It's really important that the north has many more MPs, because at the moment our MPs are in the south. Now, we're going to do that by making sure that everyone knows that we care about the environment and climate change. Everyone knows that already. But actually, I want a relentless focus on lowering people's bills, on tackling regional inequality, on building council homes, on funding our National Health Service and stopping water companies pumping sewage into our water and charging us extra for the privilege. I know these are all messages that will resonate in Yorkshire. And of course, our Deputy Leader, Mothin Ali, is also from Yorkshire. So I'm really excited for people to hear more and see more of Mothin.
Is there a problem for the Greens in the north that in other parts of the country it's relatively maybe easy to vote for the Greens? In the north, it's a little bit less of a luxury to be able to vote for the Greens, because what are the Greens saying about that cost of living? You know, it might be an argument to say that people don't want to vote for the Greens because they don't think you've got the policies to bring down that cost of living and help them very directly.
Well, that's why I'm saying today I will bring down the cost of living. And in fact, from the moment I was elected, that's been my relentless focus, to make sure that people know we're going to lower their bills. Now, how do we do that? We do that by bringing companies back into public ownership. If something is a human right and a need, then it's absolutely outrageous that it's run for profit rather than people's need. It works by making sure we're insulating every home in Britain that needs it. That keeps homes cool in the summer, warm in the winter. Also creates green jobs, by the way, that can be in the public sector, in trade unions where people are paid properly, given dignity and care at work. These are all things that are important to people right across Yorkshire, and actually the Green Party has the answers and the solutions to turn this country around.
And in the next set of council elections and the next general election, are you committing to getting that MP in the north for the first time from our part of the world?
I am absolutely committed to making sure that we have at least one MP in the north, if not several. But also at next May's council elections, I want to make sure in places like Bradford we're really growing, as well as Leeds and Sheffield. Lots of places right across Yorkshire people should be watching right now, because even where we've not had Green Party presence in the past, we've just hit 80,000 members. The reason why that's important is that's a 33% increase in just the last couple of months. The Green Party were already going places, but right now we really have the momentum right across Yorkshire.
Zapolansky, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be speaking to members from each political party as the autumn conferences continue. Now on to sport, and the Super League season is over already for our region, but talk of a grand final certainly isn't. Sunday's Championship Rugby League finale between York Knights and Toulouse could provide a pathway into Super League, although there's no guarantee of promotion even for the winner. Paul Ogden looks ahead.
Preparing for the biggest game of their modern history, York Knights' future appears to rest in those strong, talented hands. To some extent, York's ambition is to reach Super League, but membership of next season's proposed 14-team expanded top division requires much more than just winning the Championship Grand Final. Rather than automatic promotion, eventual winners York or Toulouse will have to wait until mid-October anyway, along with 5 other new applicants, including Doncaster and Bradford Bulls, for an approval decision by the RFL on their eligibility for Super League, based on a detailed grading process.
I think everything's here for York to elevate into Super League. As you can see, we've got a top-class training facility, great partnership with the university. There's a centre of excellence getting built over the next 18 months. The stadium's tailor-made, just the right size for rugby league in the city of York.
On the field, York Knights are enjoying a staggering 20-match winning run, and are just one more victory away from a clean sweep of domestic trophies this year, having already won the 1895 Cup and the League Leaders' Shield. To say nothing of York Knights' proposed separate new centre of excellence, which, in its video illustration at least, would be the envy of some existing Super League clubs.
Listen, we're going full-time regardless in November. The centre of excellence is well along with the planning, as you've seen with the drawings. The full-time cogs are already in motion. What happens after Sunday regardless is, it's a brand new chapter in York's history.
I think it's about the here and now at the moment. Super League is a great prospect for us as a team moving forward, but I think as for now, we just focus on the GF.
The GF, the grand final for the championship, kicks off at 2 o'clock on Sunday at York's own community stadium and could provide more material for that gallery of proud rugby league history in the city on its walls. Paul Ogden, BBC Look North, York.
Football now, and Bradford City battled back from 2 goals down to earn a 2-2 draw with Rotherham United last night. The Millers held a 2-goal advantage thanks to Denzel Hall and Martin Sheriff, but League One leaders Bradford staged a late comeback with Alex Patterson scoring the equaliser. There it is, any minute now. Yeah, cool. Right, get on a bus and you're putting your life in the hands of the driver. So it's just as well that here in Yorkshire we have the best bus driver in Britain. He's called Mick Leach, there he is, and works for First Bus in Halifax. Kathy Killick has the story.
It was an ad in the paper that he saw at the tender age of 21 that set Mick on the road to being a bus driver. 26 years later, after several attempts, he's been crowned Britain's Bus Driver of the Year, an accolade that's left him almost speechless.
Wow, stunned, gobsmacked, a little bit bewildered. Absolutely delighted, obviously. I was absolutely bouncing off the walls.
The competition itself was held in Blackpool and required inch-perfect driving, with the judges literally measuring the driver's performance.
You're marked and measured with absolute precision, pulling up at curbs, bus stops, judging distances, judging things that disappear into blind spots, making sure that you're doing all your safety checks before you pull away from a standstill. You only enter a competition for one reason, don't you? You want to win.
And win he has, with impressive silverware to prove it.
He's a very positive, safety-dedicated, customer-orientated person, and he's actually a pleasure to be around. He's such a nice guy, and he deserves it. He deserves to win that competition. But to have him work out of Halifax, it just gives us all a big, a happy feeling that he's one of our drivers, and it's something positive in Halifax.
You've got a live cargo. You're not just carrying boxes around, you're carrying, people. It's the most precious thing you can carry around, isn't it? So you've got to do your best at all times.
That dedication has now been richly rewarded. As well as his badge of honour, he's won £4,000. So what will he spend it on? Well, his wife's told him new carpets. Oh well, you can't win them all. Cathy Kiddick, BBC Look North, Halifax.
Happy wife, happy life, I say. Now, a family in South Yorkshire is putting on a concert this weekend in memory of their mum Bev, who died from breast cancer in 2021. They want to raise money for a local cancer charity, and so far they've raised up to £250,000. A number of stars will be taking part, including the Nolans, no less. Tom Ingle has been to rehearsals ahead of the big show tomorrow.
Yes, we are no strangers to the stage here at Sheffield City Hall on Look North. So many famous names have played here. It would take an entire edition of the programme to actually list them. But the rehearsals you've just been watching are for a show tomorrow night which is much more intimate and much more personal than a stadium-filling act. And our two guests, Rachel and Matt, can explain why. So, Rachel, first of all, what is the BB with Love concert?
The BB with Love concert is a concert we started in 2021 when our beautiful mum very sadly lost her battle to breast cancer. So she passed away in the March, and by the October we were here at the Sheffield City Hall with our first charity concert.
Matt, we should say why the concert's called BB, because that wasn't your mum's name, was it?
No, her name was Beverly.
Will she mind us saying that?
Well, it's the fact. Her name was Beverly, and she wasn't that keen on her name. So over the last few years before she passed away, we just kind of started calling her BB. She much preferred it. And that's when, obviously, when she lost her life, we thought, what can we call this concert? What can we be called as a charity? And BB with Love just fitted so nicely. So
you've raised between you presumably thousands and thousands of pounds through these concerts, a lot of money over the years.
Yes.
And you've just released a charity single as well for the same cause.
Yes. On the first year, I found this song called Mum, and it just stuck to me. You know when music kind of gets you, and I loved it, and I made it my own. I changed the lyrics, and it went live on stage for the very first time then. And since then, loads of people from Sheffield say, where can I download that song? Where can I buy it? Where can I listen to it again? So because this is the 5th and final year of Simply the Best, it's actually released today. You can get it anywhere that you want to download a song. You can get it anywhere you want, and it's called Mum, and it's by me, Matthew.
Fantastic. And can people still get tickets for tomorrow night to help raise funds?
They most certainly can. We have some tickets remaining, flash sale, so only £25 each now, and every penny raised goes to Weston Park.
Thank you very much, both of you. It looks like it's going to be a terrific show and a wonderful celebration of your late mother, and of course, a great fundraising effort for Weston Park Charity, a hospital we're so lucky to have here in Sheffield.
Yeah, incredible. Thank you very much, Tom. Now, you may remember a story we covered earlier this year about crayfish that were rescued from a river in West Yorkshire due to the summer drought. Well, we're thrilled to say they're now been released back into the wild. Here's the moment the baby white-clawed crayfish settled into their new home in the River Wharfe. They were joined by around 30 adults after spending months in quarantine. The crayfish were rescued in July after water levels near Burley in Wharfedale fell dangerously low due to the hot weather. Aren't they cute? Now, hot weather, do you remember that?
Oh, I do. They've not got the timing very well because the rivers are really big at the moment after that rain, but I'm sure they'll be fine.
And it's all changed, I believe, dare I ask?
Well, it is very, very autumnal. I think the only winners this weekend will be these things here, these wind turbines there in Penistone, because they'll be doing their bit, certainly. It looks as though there'll be some sunshine on Sunday, but we are talking about very windy conditions, gusts 50 to 60 miles an hour. And this will warm your hearts. Look at that squirrel that was taken by Martin. Bedraggled ears there, absolutely soaked there, but that's a lovely picture. If you're out and about this weekend, take care, but do send your pictures in on X, on Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. So we start with a warning. This is in place actually until midnight tomorrow night. Strong winds, basically 50 to 60 miles an hour, perhaps a little bit higher in most exposed parts, mainly across the Pennines. It's all down to Storm Amy. Its most powerful area of winds is way up to the northwest. I mean, for us, to be perfectly honest with you, this is quite a normal situation for autumn and winter. It happens several times. 50 to 60 miles an hour would happen several times across autumn and winter. And the really good news is it looks like high pressure is going to ridge back in for next week, so we can look forward to actually increasing amounts of fine and settled weather once more, but certainly not in the short term. It's been an awful afternoon with outbreaks of rain. This front is rattling through. It's already nearly clear of the coast, but it is followed by a number of very heavy showers, and those showers will actually continue to feed in from the west, driven on by that strong to gale force wind. The black arrows shows you the estimated gusts of 57 miles an hour across the Pennines, 44 to 50 elsewhere. Tomorrow's high water times in Scarborough 2:38, Bridlington at 2:53. So very unsettled, very windy and quite cool day to come tomorrow. Might get off to a bright start. We've got further rain to sweep down from the northwest through the morning. And then the afternoon, we're back to sunshine and scattered blustery showers, although eastern parts might not do too bad tomorrow afternoon with some sunshine. Still some strong gusts, 50 to 60 miles an hour. Temperatures only 12 or 13. We've had 17 this week, so that is going to feel cool out and about. But Sunday, still very windy, but easily the best of the 2 days, dry with some sunshine. And then next week, it does settle down and the wind slowly eases too. That's the forecast.
Thank you very much, Paul. I don't think I'll be hanging my washing out this weekend.
It'll be in the neighbours.
Better stay in and watch Look North. That's it from us. Do have a lovely weekend, despite that weather. Goodbye.